I'm going to do only strings really low now. I think ballerinas would be really good at playing your game.
Yes, I think so.
I think people that spend most of their time sitting in a chair and are really caffeinated right now are probably not so great at doing this.
So what I'm going to show you now is how I've mapped the magnitude of my body's movement to this thing that I'm calling intensity. And there's been some confusion about what I mean about velocity versus intensity. So velocity in sort of traditional musical MIDI terms means just how hard a note is struck. So when I'm playing keyboard, if I'm striking very lightly, it's a very low velocity, and so that actually makes the notes play very softly. If I'm striking the keyboard very hard, that actually means that the key comes down at a really high velocity and actually plays the note much, much harder. So when I say velocity, that's very much what I mean, how hard the note gets struck. When I say intensity, however, that's a little different. It's a term I'm sort of grappling with and trying to maybe find a different word for. But the way I'm treating it is kind of a compositional intensity. So the idea is if I'm moving, if I have very small movements, very little of my body is moving, it makes sense that the song might feel a little bit more simple, like just a single melody or a single rhythm, just a very simple, consolidated kind of easy movement. But as the magnitude of my movement sort of grows and I make these more expansive gestures, it might make sense for the composition to pick up, to expand a little bit, to add in new instruments or new polyrhythms or new counter melodies. So that's what I'm doing. I'm actually mapping very directly the magnitude of my body's movement to the compositional complexity. So maybe that's a better word, is complexity versus intensity. But that's what I'm going to show you today, is that I've mapped the magnitude of my movement to this thing that I'm calling intensity. So we're going to start by setting up my skeleton. Great, there we go, and you'll see that magnitude bar sort of descend to find its average value. And so as my body sort of like moves back and forth, you see that go up and you see that go down. Great. So now we're actually going to map that directly to some compositional elements. Okay, so as I begin to move, you'll hear a string section start to come in. And as my motion slows down, it goes away. As it comes back up. Up. So I'm not only mapping the magnitude of my movement to whether the strings come in or not, but also to the relative volume of those strings. So if the value of my magnitude lands somewhere between 10 and 80, let's say, that means the strings play, but at 10 the volume is going to be much lower than it is at 80. So at 80 the strings are going to be in, but they're also going to be at full volume. So if I sort of really hear it now. And if I stop, sort of go away. Yeah, so now the real trick is to try and tie the velocity of my right hand, or whatever I end up wanting to map velocity to this sort of compositional intensity, and making them sort of speak to each other in a really nice way. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Kinect for Xbox 360.